Hi guys, so I haven't managed to do a monthly reading wrap up for the past 3 months, that would be February, March and April, but I figured I would bung all the books I read in those 3 months into one reading wrap up so that you guys could see what I have been reading if you don't follow me on Goodreads, and I could just let you know my brief thoughts on them all. The main reason I haven't done a wrap up is because I haven't read tons every month because it's just been very busy for me, but with the 3 months having built up I have about 8 or 9 books or so definitely something to talk about. So let's dive straight into it, shall we? In no particular order, I will pick up this one first. I read Tinder by Sally Gardner, which I did actually do a review on, so you might have seen that already, and if you want to know my full thoughts on it then definitely go and check that out. But all in all, I really enjoyed this book. It is an illustrated book, illustrated by David Roberts, and the illustrations are gorgeous. They really bring the story to life and complete the book. It's a very visual experience as well as a kind of reading experience, like that sort of black and white with little bits of red here and there. And this is a sort of creepy horror retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale Tinderbox, and it is very much like an elongated fairy tale. It reads in that fashion and it follows our main character Otto, who just experiences a lot of very weird magical coincidences, and Sally Gardner's writing was very beautiful, just as beautiful as the illustrations, so as a complete package I really enjoyed this book. Next is another book I've actually reviewed as well, and that's Vivian versus the Apocalypse by Katie Coyle. This is a apocalyptic novel, if you can't guess from the title, which follows our main character Vivian and 2 friends who go on a road trip during this apocalypse which has happened after the rapture. All of these people seem to have vanished from the earth, who were members of a cult, and those who were not members of the cult got left behind and have to kind of figure out what's going on. This is a YA book and I really enjoyed it. It was really fast paced, fun, the characters were really relatable despite being in that very unrelatable situation, and I just really enjoyed it. It was a good mystery and I'm looking forward to reading the sequel and finding out how things wrap up. I also read a classical play, and that was Ion by Euripides. It was a tragic play from ancient Greece. This is a little bind up of a few of his works here. I really enjoyed Ion actually. I think it's one of my favourite Euripides that I've read so far, and just from my perspective I really enjoyed reading the play because it was a kind of interesting look into Greek perceptions of citizenship status, belonging to certain nationalities, and also violence against women, which is all within my realms of research, so I really enjoyed this play. Of course I read some graphic novels as well. I read Saga Volume 4 finally. I'm so glad I got around to getting this volume. I loved it. It was my favourite so far. I found that in general with Saga I have enjoyed every volume more than the last, and it just keeps improving as a series for me. But this is a science fiction graphic novel series which everyone on BookTube talks about, so I'm sure you've heard of it. I also read this, which is more of a comic book than a graphic novel, and it's The Snow Queen and Other Stories by Isabel Greenberg, illustrated and written, and it is an adaptation of more Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales actually. And Isabel Greenberg was the illustrator and writer of the Encyclopedia of Early Earth, which was like a full-length graphic novel that I loved, so I was really excited to check out more of her stuff, and her artwork is just lovely. It's just so nice. This is what it looks like here, and obviously this was like a very quick read but very enjoyable, and I'm really glad I picked it up and I really want to check out more of her stuff. I also read the 6th and final volume of Locke Key on my Kindle, which is a graphic novel series. It's a horror graphic novel series, and I'm really glad to finish the series. It was a very dramatic ending. In parts I maybe felt like it was a bit too gory and violent, but it was the culmination of the story. It was kind of like make a big impact, and that was the kind of series it was. It was quite violent and graphic and horrific, but I liked the way it wrapped up. I thought it did a really good job of not being too gruesome an ending and not being too happy an ending. So I really do think they did a good job of summarising the series, and it was a really interesting plot twist at the end, how they figured everything out. So I really enjoyed that series in general. I think I gave that volume 4 stars, but I've given them all 4 or 5 stars, and I'd recommend checking it out if that's the kind of genre of graphic novel you're into. I also read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and I adored this novel so much. I loved Mr. Tilney, I loved our protagonist Catherine. Jane Austen kind of parodies and pokes fun a wee bit at the sort of gothic novel genre. In this story, our protagonist reads a lot of like really dramatic novels about kidnapped victims and people in big haunted houses, and obviously lives in a much more normal world where these kind of things don't really happen, so it's a bit of fun interplay between the two. There's a lot of good tongue-in-cheek humour, really well written of course. You know, I really enjoyed this one, and I really want to read some more Jane Austen now. It really got me going and got me the Jane Austen bug, and I'd highly recommend it, especially if you haven't read any Jane Austen yet. I also read Neil Gaiman's Stardust. Now this is a edition published by Vertigo, who are a graphic novel publishing house, and it's illustrated. It's not a graphic novel, it's just heavily illustrated. Little unicorns, and the illustrations are just gorgeous. They're so lovely. They're really detailed and really colourful and really add to the reading experience. I'm actually thinking of doing a video about illustrated books. If you're interested in that, let me know. But I really enjoyed this story. It was a sort of high fantasy series about a young boy who goes across the wall in his village, and on the other side of the wall there's a magic realm set when the British Empire was still at its height. And the reason he crosses this wall is to find a shooting star that has fallen on the other side of the wall to impress a young lady, and the story follows on from there. I think I ended up giving this 4 stars only because I almost felt like it could have been more, it could have been longer. I kind of enjoyed it so much I wanted more. I mean, the Land of Wall was such an interesting, fantastical realm that I just wanted an epic fantasy novel set in it and to know more about it and the people that lived there. So I would definitely recommend checking this out. It's actually the first adult Neil Gaiman book I've read, and I really enjoyed it and need to read more of his adult books now. Now, the last few books I read were actually books I listened to on audiobook, and they were all Harry Potter books. I listened to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I listened to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Look at that, copy's falling apart. And I listened to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, all on audiobook this month, just to sort of relax and engage in a story that I didn't really need to pay much attention to or concentrate on to follow the story in, because I know it so well. I'm sure a lot of you know what I mean, but Harry Potter just almost feels like a friend, and he always cheers me up. I suspect some of you will probably ask, I have no preference between Jim Dale or Stephen Fry as narrators of the Harry Potter series on audiobook. I really enjoy both of them. I think they both just offer something different. I think Stephen Fry has just a really magnificent voice for reading audiobooks, but I feel like Jim Dale maybe plays up the individual characters' voices a little bit more, which is quite fun. So yeah, in case you're wondering, as I'm sure some of you are. Those are all the books I've read in the past 3 months, so hopefully I get a lot more reading done in the next 3 months, and hopefully I will manage to do monthly wrap-ups for the next 3 months. But I hope you enjoyed this one where I brought them all together, and if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts, and if you've got any recommendations based on the books in this video, then let me know about those too, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye guys!